Now students, we would revisit the weighted factor analysis, but this time this would be for facility planning rather than for vendor selection. So we would actually know what type of criteria are more important for facilities location rather than vendor. We now know what criteria are actually important for the vendor selection and how can we use the weighted factor analysis for the vendor. Now let us look at it from the facility point of view. This method can be used to consider quantitative as well as qualitative factors. If you can remember, we had the qualitative and quantitative factors for the vendor selection as well. It requires a list of candidate sites, those sites which could be your new facilities. The first step in weighted factor analysis is to identify the important factors or the criteria to be considered in selecting a site and the weight or relative importance of the criteria. Now, if you say, I have to find a weight for some different criteria or the importance of different criteria, one thing should come to your mind, that is analytical hierarchy process, AHP. You now know how to elicit weights. 1 to 9 scale was there, and that scale would determine the preferences, if you could remember. And from there, you can actually convert them into the weights. So AHP is there. That would be used for the weights for even for vendor selection. That would be used for the weights for your facility importance. The factors identified as important for site selection by Ghosh and McLafferty in 1987, एक research थी, may prove to be a good starting point for this step. Yes, there could be more steps. There has been research on those factors, but still it's quite an authentic list of factors which has been provided by Ghosh et al. The second step is to rate each site against all the factors on a scale of 1 to 10. The last step is to compute the weighted rating for each site and select the site with the highest weighted rating. Yes, rating can be done in this qualitative fashion from on the scale of 1 to 10, and then you will actually compute the weighted rating. But the thing is, we can use analytical hierarchy process as well. If more than one site are to be located, then simply choose the location that corresponds to the top P ranking. So highest ranking aapke paas aa rahi hai. We will choose that one rather than choosing the other rating. What were the factors which were given by Ghosh et al? That was the category would be, let's say if we have a category of cost structure, then the land acquisition cost, the construction cost, the taxes, and if the legal category is taken, then the insurance and tax and insurance cost, covenants and zoning and lease clauses. And if you talk about the demographics, that would be the population base, the income potential, and the labor supply. Then if you talk about the traffic or the flow, then it would be the type and volume of the traffic, transportation modes, and access to the terminals or ports. ये different categories हैं जिनके against different factors को उन्होंने enumerate किया. Retail structure would be like your competitors, your type of neighboring stores, and the site characteristics would be there in the form of like parking availability, your building condition if it exists, conditions concerning the visibility of the site from the main streets. So these were the factors against different important categories for your facility location. What we have the weighted rating for site. Let's say we call it VJ, and it would be the sum of I is equal to 1 to n weights for every I multiplied by Sij. Weights for the factors are there which are represented by W, and Sij is the score for site J on factor I. And n is the number of factors. So n would be the total number of factors which you have included, and Sij would represent the score for the site J. एक साइट का स्कोर कितना है, that would be represented by Sij on that factor I. एक खास फैक्टर पे कितना स्कोर है. For one specific factor, what is the score? For the other, what is the score? That you have to sum all of those. for finding the weighted factor. So the weighted factor analysis technique is more or less like similar to the one which we have for vendor selection. The only thing is that you need to enumerate the criteria for which you have to find the weights. Thank you.